Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Faizal Manjoo, and I'm pleased to deliver to you today 3 main lectures on the issue of wills. How do you draft Islamic will? There will be 3 lectures. The first one would be mainly on basic stuff about the law in UK, when a will is valid, what is a will, and some provisions on it. Then this will be followed by 2 sessions. One would be about the provisions you put in the will for yourself, and then the remaining one will concern extra provisions, which we're going to discuss. The first session is about importance of wills and bequest in Islam. As you know, in UK, we have to be very careful regarding our estate when we die. So before I engage with it, first of all, I would like to make a disclaimer that this is an awareness program. Number 2, I'm not an admitted solicitor under the Solicitor Regulation Authority. Hence, you need to take into account that inheritance and drafting a wills are very intricate subjects. After you get the basics from this course, kindly consider to consult a lawyer or a mufti to ensure your specific circumstance is well covered. So the first thing that I would like to discuss with you is, what is a will as compared to a wasiyah? There's a confusion in people's mind. A will is where you express your wishes, how you want your estate, that is whatever you have, to be distributed amongst your legal heirs. That is what is a will about, Islamically, because we have to differentiate a will and a wasiyah. So Islamically, we differentiate between a will per se, because if you don't have a wasiyah, everything will go in your inheritance. So if you want to create specific provisions where you have some authority, then you have a wasiyah. Because for your inheritance, everything is already stipulated in Sharia, who receives what. So you have up to 1/3 to discuss that. Therefore, your wasiyah becomes very important to take into account. Now, what you have to understand, a wasiyah is limited to 1/3 of your net state value, the value of your net state after you pay tax, your debt, etc. Whatever is left, then you're going to make your wasiyah. Keep this in mind. Now, wasiyah, that is your bequest, Islamically, there are various areas that this can be covered. For example, you want to make a charity, you want to, if you are dying on a deathbed, then you cannot do the amount you want. Then also it will be limited to 1/3. Even if you have stipulated more than 1/3, your administrator must decide this. Another one is, for example, you want to pay your fidya, or you forgot, you didn't have a chance to do your hajj, or for your miss roza, yani your psalm, or you want to pay kafara, that is penalty for violating an oath. So all the things can come under your wasiyah, not inheritance. So there is a difference between inheritance and a bequest in Sharia. So the will is a general document that you prepare. You express what you want to do with regard to your estate after your death. Now, the importance of the wasiyah that many people don't pay attention is, number 1, you are clearly mentioning who among your non-heirs. This is for non-heirs, because your heirs will receive according to Quran and Sunnah. So if you want a non-heir to receive, you stipulate there. Okay? For example, maybe you have an uncle who is very sick. You need somebody to look after him, and he will not receive from you anything, so you create a provision for him. Also, the amount to be bequeathed must not be more than 1/3 of your net state. Okay? So this also is very important. Another thing is, a non-heir will not receive from your wasiyah. Wasiyah can be for non-Muslim as well. Yes. And very importantly, a wasiyah can be revoked. Whereas inheritance, you cannot revoke inheritance. It's already in the Quran and the Sunnah. There are various types of wasiyah you can do. One is mandatory. For example, you owe Hajj. You never had a chance to do it. You must do. Make a provision for that, for your zakat, for instance. Or if, for example, you owe, there is some objects kept with you in amana as trust. This must be given to so and so back after your death. So this also must be mentioned. Another one is, category is mustahab. For example, regarding your shroud and your burial. Yes, you can specify this, right, in your wasiyah. It will form under your wasiyah how you want this to be done. If you have enough assets, then make bequest to help others. That also is mustahab. It's not compulsory, but you can make a provision to help others, as I mentioned. Then you got those that are jaiz. For example, you make things that are permissible, such as stipulating who will perform your salatul janazah. Okay. Another one is when it is haram to make wasiyah. For example, something which is not permissible, and you want your money to be given in that avenue that is haram, you can't do. And about your non-heirs, remember, there are specific shares for specific legal heirs. But for wasiyah, you don't have to do that. You can give everybody equal. So these are very basic rulings on your wasiyah. Now, what are the legal requirements of having a will under English law? The first thing to understand is that under English law, you got, for a will to be valid, you must meet the criteria under the Wills Act of 1857. And that act tells you how your will be valid. First thing you got to understand, you must write it. A will must be written. Number two, you must sign it. Number three, it must be witnessed by two persons who are not your legal heirs. That is, they must witness that you are the one who have signed it and this is your signature. And of course, you date it. Don't forget to date it. Then, for a person to prepare a will, he must have the legal capacity or the mental capacity to appreciate what he's doing. And number two, he must understand the effect of that will. Right? You must know what will be the consequences of that will with regard to your estate, what will happen. Number three, what you got to understand is a will is a voluntary thing that you do. You write without any undue coercion. That is, you got to do it without any pressure from anybody, any coercion from anybody. It must be your own act. So this is what the Wills Act says. Now, what do you do with the will? You have signed it. What do? You must keep it in a safe place. Some people leave it with a solicitor. But one important thing that we forget is a will needs to be updated. Why it needs to be updated? There are a series of events that will impact on our estate. For example, if you get married or you enter a civil partnership, as a will is automatically cancelled by these events. This is the English law. Or you get divorced and you don't change it, there will be problem. Okay? Because the will fall under the freedom of testation. You give to whoever you wish. So if you have divorce and you have to change your will, your ex-spouse will inherit, will get something. So you got to ensure you update your will. Or you have children or other relatives you wish to benefit. For example, nieces, nephews, or whatever, circumstances keep on changing. You have bought a new property, for example, or have recently obtained expensive assets. What you want to do with that? You got to relook into it. Do you want to make a bequest, or you want it to go inheritance? And also the issue of bankruptcy. What if one of your heirs become bankrupt? Your estate will go paying those credit as well. So you have to look into all those things. So you have to take into account to preserve your will. And number two, you have to ensure you revisit your will every year. This is a specialized area. If you are very rich, you got people who are specialized in that. Now, the next question is, why should we have a will? Because under English law, there are two ways of succession. Either you die without a will, and this is known as intestate succession, where a person dies without a will, or you have a will, and this is known testacy, That is, you leave a will regarding what you want to do with your estate. Now, the question here is, what is the problem with intestacy if you don't have a will? As a Muslim, the first problem you will face is you are violating so many verses of the Quran Sharif and so many ahadith. So we have to ensure there is a will and those rulings are being observed. Number two, if we don't have a will, what would happen is there will be a delay in the distribution of your estate, because you have to apply to the probate, that is, your administrator will apply to the probate, and if you don't have an administrator in place, they will have to look for one. You are delaying the right of your heirs in enjoying what you have left for them. Very important as well, and it's crucial, is you are missing the opportunity to benefit from the concept of wasiyah that Islam has given you. That is, you can make your bequest to compensate for your shortcomings, to compensate for people who are not your heirs, or alternatively to prepare for your akhirah through a sadaqat al-jariyah, that is a perpetual good deeds like establishing an orphanage, a masjid, this type of things. So it's very important. So if you die intestate, you are losing on all those facilities. Another one is crucial, very crucial, which we tend to underestimate, is wealth management. We have to ensure that your will is part and parcel of your wealth management, especially if you have more than £500,000 worth of assets, because there will be inheritance tax to be considered that can go up to 40%. That is one aspect. Of course, this is an area you must consult your accountant. Another very important point is the area of, if you have investment in stocks, shares, or you have various properties, or you have businesses, all these are important to consider wealth management, where the professional will give you the efficient way how to monitor your wealth. Do you put it as trust, or do you put it on your own name, or do you create a company? There are various techniques of doing this under the English law. So having a will, it guides you to consider all those elements. So this is very basic advice or awareness I have given to you, which I hope will spur you to consider of relooking at your will, inshallah. Next would be about the ingredients that we put in a will. We're going to deal with that in our next session. Jazakallah khair.